Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you guys for joining me again. My name is Wilky and I'm here with a quick Prism Energy guide for the Prismverse Clash. And what is Prism Energy? This is the scoreboard or the score that determines the victor of the current Prismverse PvP scenario. Now in order to get those points, you need to capture prismatic deviations, and there's a couple things to note here. First of all, everybody in your faction gets access to this amount of Starcrum once this score here is hit. And for those people who are in a particular high ranking, they get a special crate, which rewards them even more Starcrum. Now, in order to even start or potentially have a chance to get this prismatic deviations, you need to make sure that there's a number written here. If there's no number in the bottom right corner here, that means that currently there's no prismatic deviations up for spawning. So at the time that you're looking at this and there's nothing written here, you cannot obtain prismatic deviations. Now, in order to get those prismatic deviations, once there is a number here, in this case there's 42 potentially available, you need to be in a contested zone. Contested zone means at the top right corner, you can see that there's a PvP and the crossed guns. Now, if you go through this little veil here, you can see that we're leaving the PvP area. There's a quick grace period, you can see a countdown running, so I'm still technically vulnerable if I'm here. And once I go in here, PvP starting again. So once you're inside this zone and there's prismatic deviations available, there's two ways for you to obtain prismatic deviations. The first one is to participate in certain public crisis events, and the second one is by either fishing or mining. I'm not sure if logging also counts for that, but mining and fishing definitely does. So you can see me mining here, and this is how the prismatic deviation looks. You can see the glow is a bit brighter. Other than that, it's a bit hard to tell. Once you capture it, at the top you can see a different label there telling you that this is a prismatic or a prism deviant. And if you go to your selection here, you can see that it has this little diamond icon there telling you that this is a prismatic deviant. What's left to do now is either bring your own base or have somebody else bring their base, because you need a secure containment unit. Now, I have a pre-built base that I specifically built for this. Now, I'm not a big PvP player, so this base is definitely not nearly very well optimized, and there's a lot of pitfalls here that I went through. So this is as vanilla as you can get it. As you can see, I had trouble opening my door there. But as I said, I never did this before, so I just quickly slapped something together and just winged it. As I mentioned, this is just essentially behaving like a normal deviation. I just made some room here. Now in the selection here, this one doesn't really look any different, so you have to make sure that you don't actually miss it. And then you're looking for the one that has the diamond-shaped icon there, and it also has a timer. And once you pop that in, that's when the 30 minutes, in this case, there's also more that have longer times going. And as of right now, I am visible on the map. And that is essentially what you're seeing when you're opening the map in the game. You can see that there is this little red glow dusty thing, whatever, that makes you visible to other players on the same world. All that is left to do now, and that sounds a lot simpler than it might be, is to wait for the timer to run down and defeat opposing faction members and prevent them from grabbing your deviant or destroying your base in the process. Now, this, as I said, may sound a lot simpler. For relatively long, I think like almost 15 minutes, there was nobody around, but at the end this became quite butt-clenchy. So there's some footage here where I almost got quite popped there at the end, but luckily the timer ran out just in time. I got a few kills there, I got clapped there as well a couple times. Needless to say, this, as I said, for a vanilla, my first time, I think this was reasonably well. I learned a lot. And yeah, this was also my first prismatic deviant that I captured. Now, for a quick aftermath, we're gonna go to my base once I actually managed to bring my base back. So now for the aftermath, I finally gotten back to my base, so they stopped wailing at it, which is good, and we can see the sort of destruction or havoc these guys wrecked. It's actually not too bad. Like, in terms of like structural damage, it's not too crappy. The ones that hurts the most are probably the chests, and I mean the deviant boxes that they broke them. That's fine. You get the deviations back. That's totally fair. Top looks fine as well. So all the deviants that were in the Securement units get sent back to your inventory. As you can see, this is the Wolfie that I had. This is a logging beaver that I had, my nutcracker, a couple digbees. So nothing of value in that regard was lost. Obviously, the biggest pain point here is, or was, the content of the chests. We're looking at the chest here now. I purposely didn't bring super valuable stuff here. I parked it at a friend's base. So they collected a couple detoxidants, some fish, some spoiled food, beryllium crystals, some gunpowder, some vanadium crystals, sinister brick, 500 stardust ores. I don't know what the hell starlith is. Oh, starlith, the stuff for the injection, copper ingot, bronze ingot, eclipse cortex. That one's, I mean, it's 2, so it's whatever. 56 acid, so it's not the end of the world. That's fairly okay. And a couple basic materials, rubber, fireproof plastic, standard parts. Nothing that you can grab relatively simply back again. Needless to say, though, if you plan on bringing your base to Prism deviation captures, then make sure to park your valuables somewhere else, or this is what might happen. Obviously, I'm not a PvP expert, so this base was literally slapped in together in like 10 minutes. I think it worked relatively well. Like 1 or 2 assailants are really not a big deal. But once people started swarming me, things went a bit south. Luckily, we managed to get our deviation going. And for that, we got 10 points. I'm now rank 45 in my faction. Unfortunately, our server is fairly imbalanced. There's a lot of Rosetta people, Rosettis, and not that many Mayflies. But hey, that's just how it is. And we're going to try to make the best of it. Phase 2 is around the corner, so we're going to be seeing how things are playing there. And that is it for this quick summary and guide on how to get Prism Energy and how maybe not to do it if you value some of your stuff. But it was fun, so there's that.